Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pacific Solo episode 16. I'm asking myself the question, is my boat safe? Can it safely take me across the North Pacific from Tokyo to Vancouver? And this is a question I continue to ask myself and try to mitigate the risks and the deficiencies, as well as learn what her strengths are. When I bought Wahine, she was kind of a late arrival onto my short list. I had never heard of a Gib'Sea 402 before. French-built boat. It's 1988. And I had to do some research. I had a couple of friends, one a Japanese skipper, and the other is a French sailor, Henry, who did some research because a lot of the information is in French. And in short, their response was, yes, the boat is blue water worthy. It can get me across the North Pacific. Yet I've had to learn so much. So in this episode, I want to share with you what I am learning about Wahine and where her strengths or even her adequacies lie for crossing the Pacific, and also where I have some concerns and how I'm trying to mitigate those risks and those concerns. So in this episode, I'm going to be looking at the basic structure of the boat herself, and then I'm going to be looking at the power, both sail and engine, and what else I need to do. And then thirdly, I want to look at being inside and how safe it is for me to be inside in a variety of ways. So I'm learning. I'm just sharing with you what I learn. I don't claim to be an expert in any of this, but these are the things I've learned along the way, may help somebody else, and some of you may be able to help me learn more. So here we go, trying to answer the question, is my boat safe? Hi, I'm Lowell Shepard, onboard sailing vessel Wahine at Gib'Sea 402, and this is Pacific Solo. Pacific Solo is the greatest challenge of my life. We are preparing to sail solo across the North Pacific through the Pacific Garbage Patch. And then at a place I've called Nemo North, which is simply a set of coordinates, which is the place in the North Pacific furthest from land in any direction, we're going to turn the bow of Wahine northwards to go to Canada and be reunited with my mother, who's in her 90s and is isolated in a Canadian care facility. And I want to take you on this voyage with us via this YouTube channel. So join us on this Pacific Solo expedition. So let me tell you a bit about the boat itself before I begin to address the question, is she safe? Can she take me across a great expanse of blue water? See, she's a French-built boat. The designers are Gib'Sea. I'm sure I'm not saying the name correctly. Built by Gib'Sea or Gilbert Marine. I believe later bought by Dufour. They only built 80 of these boats between 1987 and I think about 1990. The 402 refers to the fact that she's a 40-footer, but I think it's a second generation 40-footer for Gib'Sea. And the exact, and she's a mast-hood sloop with a fin keel and a spade rudder. I had a couple of friends investigate her for me, and one was a French sailor, Henri, and one was a Japanese, Yajima-san, and they both went on a sea trial with me on separate days. They don't know each other, and they both concluded that this is a seaworthy vessel and it should safely get me across. At that point still, I had so many questions like, what is it that makes it a seaworthy vessel? Henri told me that it did have a certification within Europe of being basically can be for offshore. But I have had to learn so much. So these are some of the things I've learned. The first thing that I looked at and I became aware of in looking for a safe blue water boat is that size does matter. And although many people who I have great respect for have crossed oceans solo in very small and tiny vessels. I was advised really I should be looking at kind of a 38 to 41 foot boat that I can single hand. I didn't want to go much higher than 40 foot as a solo sailor. Some do. And you don't want to go much lower than a 38. So I was looking for a 40-footer, and Gib'Sea, this Gib'Sea 402 came up trumps on that. It's in fact 40.68 feet. It's 12.4 meters long. Then it comes down to hull design, and wow, the discussion is wide and broad and deep. And basically, in my layman's terms, a full keel sailboat where the keel goes from the very bow to the very back, and with a rudder attached to the back, is the most stable in the ocean. I understand that this design goes back 100 years or so to wooden boats, and it was easiest to make them that way as well. They can also be slightly slower and a little less nimble. So I do not have a full keel boat. I have a fin keel with a spade rudder, and I'm satisfied with the keel. The displacement of the boat, I should say, as a whole, is let's see here. In the ballast, I have just over 6,000 pounds, or almost 3,000 kilos in ballast itself. The total displacement is 7,500 kilos, or just over 16,000 pounds. The keel is about 2 meters. What I've grown to appreciate about Wahine, particularly hearing other sailors talk when they see her out of the water, is she has a rounded hull versus a racing boat that has a flatter hull. This makes her slower than a flat, but more stable in the sea as well. So I am confident in the hull shape and the keel and the general weight and displacement, although I'm going to come back to that in a moment. What has concerned me from the beginning is the spade rudder, because it doesn't have a skeg in front of it. A skeg would protect the rudder against any damage if we hit something. And so that is why I decided to buy, on my wind vane system, the self-steering mechanism, to buy the Hydrovane, which actually works off an auxiliary rudder. So now I have two rudders. I can lock the main rudder when I'm operating under the steerage of the Hydrovane, or who I call Skyly 2, or I can lock the auxiliary rudder when I'm actually at the helm and using the main rudder. So for the most part, I am happy with what's underneath the boat. The fin keel, the spade rudder with the auxiliary rudder, and that it's a rounded hull. Now, before I move on to above the waterline, and I should just comment on how prone Gib'Sea would be to capsize. And I've only recently heard about the capsize screening formula. It was about 3 months ago when somebody wrote me and asked me what it was, and this was new to me. And apparently after the 1979 Fastnet race, when so many boats were lost and capsized, and tragically 15 sailors lost their lives, and in a force 10 gale, race organizers began to create more criteria for checking the seaworthiness of boats. And one of the formulas they came up with, which is meant to just be a rough formula, is the capsize screening formula. And it's a mathematical equation. And so I tried to figure it out myself. Fortunately, I realized that on saildata.com, I was able to, they actually did the calculation for me. Basically, if you're above 2, you're prone to capsizing. Anything below 2, your disposition is to against capsizing. My capsize screening formula is in fact 1.99. So I'm just within the limit of this rough guideline. I think I can mitigate that by putting more weight inside the cabin near the fulcrum, near where the lowest part of the cabin is and where the boat pivots. And I'll probably store extra water and extra diesel and secure it on the floor of the cabin to perhaps increase increase my chances of not capsizing. Okay, let's go above the waterline and let's just look at power, how the boat is powered. Forgive those notifications seem to be coming through with some regularity. First of all, let me look at the sail plan. At the moment, I have a mainsail and a Genoa. I'm going to replace the Genoa probably with a jib. I also have a spinnaker, which I haven't used yet, although I've loaned it to my neighbor. On their boat, they have used it, and I will have it along just in case and I will have to get some practice with it. The previous owner seldom used it because he felt it took 4 to 5 crew in order to use it properly and safely. But at the moment, my Genoa is not ready to go offshore. That needs to be replaced. My furler needs to be replaced, which allows me to hoist, for lack of a better word, the Genoa or the foresail from the cockpit without going forward. I do not have a Genoa on hanks. That's where you would go forward and actually pull it up the forestay. Some have advised I do that, but I prefer to try to remain in the cockpit as much as possible. So I do need to replace the furler. So I'm not ready yet with my sail plan. Also, my power will be derived from my engine when needed to get in and out of port, and also to motor through calm areas, particularly if I get becalmed within the Pacific High. I have a Yamaha diesel engine. It's 45 horsepower, and part of that is I've got a new gearbox and also upgraded to a 3-blade propeller after I lost my other propeller, my 2-blade, last year. You can click on the card wherever it appears for the episode on me losing the prop. That was devastating. But the good news is I was able to upgrade to a stronger propeller, the 3-blade, which doesn't give me more speed, but it does give me more traction in heavy seas, and that's good. Now, what I don't have yet, though, in terms of power, is I don't have any solar. And I have 2 deep cycle batteries. It's used for everything, to start the engine, to run the refrigerator, and run all the other electronics, recharging computers, navi systems, etc. So I do want to go to solar and perhaps a hydro generator as well. So at the moment, the boat is not ready to go because I have yet to add those things, and I'm currently looking at the amount of power that I need. I'm probably looking at enough power from the panels and the hydro generator to generate 500 watts plus, and I think that should give me peace of mind that I don't need to be starting the engine every day and wasting fuel to recharge the batteries. Now, I must also add at this point, although I've referred to it earlier, is to help me get safely across the ocean and answering the question, is this boat safe? It's a lot safer for me now because I have Skyley 2, my only other crew member, a Hydrovane. And the reason why that helps make it safe is my fitness and my comfort is very important. to getting safely across. So most other sailors I've talked to, the Hydrovane, they say that the Hydrovane will steer 70 to 90% of the time. And so I'm counting on her to get me safely across the ocean. You can click on the episode to find out more about the Hydrovane, and particularly when we installed it. Installing it was a beast, and I was so grateful for the help of others, Bobby, Rick, Claude, as well as Robin and Miho, getting that installed. But once it is installed, it's really easy to use. And I notice on a lot of sailing channels, a lot of passage makers have the signature red wind vane on the back that steers the auxiliary rudder. So she gives me peace of mind having Skyly 2 on board, and increases my comfort. And that leads me into the issue of sleep, because she will allow me to get down below and to sleep, as well as get down below and be protected from the elements, where I can be half my body kind of below the waterline inside the deck, and be near the fulcrum where the movement is the least, and increase my overall comfort. Now, before I get too much into the comfort or the safety of me being down below, because this is also a critical question to answer, is she safe for me to be in here? And can she protect me from the elements outside? And can she help me retain a certain measure of health, both mental and physical? So those are questions that need to be answered, and I'll answer them now. However, before I do, I also discovered there's another formula or equation used that at first was kind of meant to be a novelty, but now is actually on this sailboatdata.com, and it's called the comfort ratio. And my comfort ratio is just shy of 25. They say you really want to be above 30 to be offshore friendly. It's a fairly rudimentary formula they use for that, but I can alter that ratio and get up over 30 by again putting more ballast inside the boat and putting a lot of weight near the fulcrum, because basically it's saying you want to be tossed about the least. I'm also told that other sailors, that they find it comfortable with a boat up to a 15-degree heel, and so you always want to be sailing with your sail plan and your point of wind, so you're no more than 15 degrees, and the comfort ratio refers to that, both the bouncing as well as the amount of heel. A good blue water boat has lots of handhelds. I have many handhelds. I got railings across the top to walk back and forth. I've got handles here. I have plenty of grip places to protect myself from being knocked over and to standing on the boat. So good handholds will help me maneuver my way down below safely. It'll also help me prepare my meals. And so handhelds are very important. Another thing that's very important is being able to sleep. Now, I've commented on the Hydrovane doing the steering will allow me to come down and sleep. And I've been thinking and studying a lot about sleeping patterns of solo sailors. It is important that when you do sleep, you have a good sleep. And I'm thrilled to bits that a company that makes these high-tech mattresses, as I understand it, some of the technology developed for outer space, and also these mattresses endorsed by a yachting association. The company's called Dormio. They're going to be my sleep sponsor, and they are sending me a mattress top for this area of the boat that I will sleep in right here. And so that when I do sleep, I will have very restful sleeps on a mattress that is made for extreme conditions. They've got a great tagline. It says, let me just read it to you. It says, "At Dormio, we believe that great sleep can take you anywhere." Well, I hope the Dormio's mattress will take me into deep sleeps as I make my way across the North Pacific. Also, in terms of sleeping, because the boat can heel over, I will be in this saloon area, and I'll put up a leeward net as well, so that I can roll and not fall out of bed, basically. Now let me just return to the subject of eating and cooking, and also drinking as well. As I said, the kitchen isn't quite the design I would like to safely stand and use the stove. I do want to go with electricity as much as possible, so that's why I want to up my ability to have power on the boat and have an inverter so I can run my microwave to heat things up, as well as have a convection top element in the boat as well, and be able to harness myself in to the kitchen so that I don't get knocked around, etc. I also have a friend, Paula, who has been in charge of provisioning on a boat race from South Africa to Australia, and she's given me tips on the logistics of organizing your food, etc. So a question in terms of safety: does the boat have enough storage for me to bring all the food I need? And the answer is yes. I have plenty of room. There's only one of me, and Paula has advised I work on an 8-day cycle for menus, and as I said before, I will provision for about 3 months, although I hope the journey will take me less than 2 months. When it comes to water, I've decided not to have a water maker. I believe I do not need it. The boat does not have one. I don't want to make that a priority for sponsors' money that sponsors are entrusting me with, because I've concluded that I can safely get across the ocean with the water that Wahine is able to hold. She's got 2 tanks, and between the 2 tanks on port and starboard have about 350 liters. And some solo sailors budget as low as 2 to 3 liters a day. I'm going to budget 5 liters a day, and at worst case plan on 100 days at sea. And so I want to have 500 liters of water on board, which I can carry 350 in the tanks themselves, and I'll carry another 150 liters in water containers. And I will do what I can to catch rain along the way too, and use that particularly for showering, etc. Also, in above deck, I have to have tethers and safety harnesses, so I have those. I have still to determine the right length, but because a great danger for sailors is to fall overboard, I find that there's mixed discussion whether they're always wearing their life jackets and only tethers, or always both. I think I will abide by the principle of wearing a life jacket and a tether, and I still have yet to measure the tether and where to put the jack line that runs from the stern to the bow that I'll be attached to, so that I don't get dragged in the water. I have heard stories of sailors who have been tethered, but their tether was too long, they were dragged in the water, and they didn't have the strength to pull themselves back, and as a result they drowned by being dragged. I don't want that to happen, of course, and I'm looking at various tethers. And when I go back to the deck where one can use the restroom facilities besides Sky 2, the A-frame of the Hydrovane will actually help give me some protection from falling overboard. I was told once that the majority of sailors that have been found drowned at sea, they've been found with their pants down because they were relieving themselves off the back of the boat when they fell overboard. So I want to prevent that from happening. And then, in answer to this question, is this boat safe? There is the structural aspects. There's the heel, there's the rudder, there's the sail plan, there's the comfort ratio down below. Can I sleep? Can I eat? Will I have enough to drink, etc.? But there's also the electronics for both communications and navigations. So I need to be able to access weather reports and be getting advice from a land-based support team to help me finesse my weaving between highs and lows. It's just the optimum points of wind. I also need to be able to communicate if I do have a problem and have to emit a distress signal. So I have to get a VHF marine radio. I have one now, but it's not DSC rated, so I want to upgrade that. DSC allows me to emit digitally my coordinates in the Mayday without any voice, and it just goes out. Then I will also use channel 16, which I can use on VHF radio to contact any boats within 20 or maximum 30 nautical miles away. The distance is determined by its line of sight, so it's how far up the mast or how far up I can elevate the radar. Then I need a EPIRB, so that it's a location finder for both the boat and me. I want SART, a radio. I need a satellite phone. All of that I still need. And so at the moment, she's not safe to go in that regard, but I need to get her up to that point. On another video, I talked about my 4 tracks of readiness, and one of them has to do with the sailboat, the other has to do with me, and I need to be 80% ready by January, early February, so I can get offshore for the first time. The boat still is not certified to be offshore, so I need to get particularly electronic equipment and life preserving equipment on board before I go. So I have much to do, but fundamentally, I am satisfied that I have a safe boat, that if worse comes to worse, and I had to bunker myself down below in the boat, I would be able to survive and eventually make my way across, or in a severe situation, stay alive until rescue. So thank you, Wahine. You spoke to me when I first bought you, and I'm looking forward to making the voyage with you. Please like, please share, and please say comments below. Also, you can check out the Pacific Solo store. There's now some products online. All that helps support the educational projects that Pacific Solo is trying to create to help students learn awareness of the oceans. So thumbs up, like, share. Take care, everybody.